Kimes, Courtney Cronin, Justin Tinsley, Kevin Clark. Ravens over Bengals in a thriller and a killer. 2 no calls in the biggest play of the game. Games and fates decided by eyeballs, not seeing hands on face masks. Can the NFL have a game ending like that? Also, the return of Christian McCaffrey, Jaden Daniels versus TJ Watt, and Alabama versus LSU with a live Tiger on the sidelines. That Tiger didn't go Tiger. That Tiger went crazy, which is Tiger, which is also crazy. Let's go around the horn.
Can they phone in Joe Exotic? Or Carol Baskin, one of the two.
What a week for the NFL. 2 games within 3 days coming down to the decision to kick or go for 2. And both ended with the decider on the losing side. So Zach Taylor's decision to go for 2 in the lead in the last minute, the decision to run out of formation, call timeout, run out of different formation, and then the play. Not to Jamar Chase, incomplete to Tanner Hudson, who may have been short anyway. During the play, the contact on tight end on the other side, Mike Gesicki, no call. And the hit to the head of Burrow, which was happening all game, no call. Ball game, Baltimore wins. The NFL has replay assist, a replay official, but not empowered to do anything here to review it. Kevin Clark, around the horn to you on what you can talk about the ending of the calls made by Cincy and the calls not made by referees.
Yeah, you used the word empower. Replay assist has to be empowered to see something like that. Now, the defensive holding, whatever you want to call it, that can always be kind of borderline. I think that in these cases, a lot of times defenses just sort of dare the referee to throw a flag. I understand that part. But clear as day, contact to the helmet, contact to the face mask, that's a flag. There has to be an ability to buzz in and say, hey, that's a penalty. Let's replay the down. Now, from the decision, I love the decision. There is one thing the Bengals have done reliably well this season, and maybe in the history of their franchise, and it's Joe Burrow completing passes to Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase last night became the first player in 6 years since Tyreek Hill to have 100 yards and a touchdown against both 2 safeties and 1 safety deep, okay? So he was literally uncoverable no matter what defense was thrown at him. You throw the ball to him in the biggest spot of the game. That's the initial original sin of that play. That's where it all flows from, but they should have been able to replay.
Mina Kimes, around the horn to you.
Yeah, I'll start with the no calls. I'm glad they didn't call that on Gesicki because he was flopping around like Courtney's ray gun impression. That, to me, was not worthy of a flag. Also, it was kind of questionable when the ball was actually released and timing with the hold. I agree with Kevin, though. I did think that was forcible contact to Burrow's face mask, and I would have called that one. As far decision, and I disagree with the play call. Not only do you go to Jamar Chase, you had Jamar Chase singled up, which is exactly what you want.
Back-to-back plays in both formations, even though they knew they were calling timeout the first time. Okay, Courtney Cronin, around the horn to you. Pop it and lock it for us.
I've retired that part of my life. But I will start with the decision. It was a bold one, Tony. Yeah. The Cincinnati Bengals are the only team to go for 2 in the fourth quarter or overtime, down by 1. But why wouldn't you when you went through this song and dance with Lamar Jackson a couple of weeks ago when they saw him lead a game-winning drive against them? He's 10-1 against the Bengals. He's a Bengals killer for all intents and purposes, and he had thrown 3 touchdowns and nearly 200 yards in the fourth quarter. Know your personnel. You're not giving him the ball back with 33 seconds or going into overtime feeling confident about your chances against Lamar Jackson, so I do not fault the Bengals for doing that. I hate, though, that these Thursday night games come down to a no call here or there. We saw it with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a face mask. We saw it a couple weeks ago with the Rams and the Vikings, a face mask. This is not an objective call. It either happened or it didn't. And what we saw happen also in that on the two-point conversion, the blatant hit to the head on Joe Burrow, that should have been called.
Yeah. So is this now a stage where the NFL has to just empower the replay official to replay plays like that? Justin Tinsley, around the horn to you.
Yeah, I think you have to, because you can't exit games like the way we did last night. You know, it's just really unfortunate for Cincy. They've played in arguably the 3 most exciting games of the season, both against Baltimore and that Monday night game against Washington, and they're 0-3 in those games. As in terms of the decision, I love the decision. Mina mentioned it earlier. I don't think they should have called a timeout. They should have went to Jamar Chase when he had single coverage up top. I remember I was looking at the TV saying, go right back to him. So I thought it was a great decision, especially given how Baltimore's defense had played on that last drive, which was horrible. Now, in terms of the referees, we're all in agreement. They got to make some call, in particular the call on Burrow. You got 2 flags on one play, you got to call something. But here's another thing, too. While the refs decided that game, that game changed on Chase Brown's fumble. Like, they were up 21-7, and then 21 unanswered points from Baltimore basically blew the game wide open.
Another ridiculous, near-perfect game for Lamar Jackson, but also quote from Marlon Humphrey here. I just don't think playing like this we can go far. Courtney, is the defense putting a lid on how far this team can go, even with Lamar Jackson playing the quarterback he is?
It's not a great strategy to just hedge everything on the fact that Lamar can get you back in these games. Yes, we've seen it. They've trailed 3 times this season by double digits, and they have ended up coming back to win those games. But of course, going into the postseason, you don't want to just put everything on the shoulders of this offense, as capable as they are. This defense gave up 470 yards and 5 touchdowns. Something needs to be fixed with the pass defense, because the pendulum swing between a great offense and a pass defense that has been so porous is not a recipe for success when you're going to probably face Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, maybe even Joe Burrow again, potentially in the postseason.
The way I would say it, Tony, is not that the defense puts a lid on the team, but they require Lamar to raise his floor to potentially unsustainable levels. He went 10 for 11 on 3rd down in this game, had a perfect passer rating, and he needed every single one of those 10 third downs. That ridiculous scramble he had was out of necessity. He had to do it. He had to put on the Superman cape, and he is capable of that, which is why I'm not ruling out the Ravens in any game. But when you go into the playoffs and you're going against great quarterbacks like the ones that Courtney mentioned, and your margin of error is that small in offense, that becomes a problem.
Kevin Clark?
Yeah, I got bad news and worse news. The bad news is teams are going to get really aggressive in passing against the Ravens because of how good the offense is, the kind of game scripts they're going to have. The worst news is they're really, really bad at limiting those explosives. They give up the most deep passes in the NFL this year, not even close, frankly, to any other team. And when a quarterback holds onto the ball for more than 2.5 seconds, they're giving up 20 more yards per game than any other team in the NFL. That is abysmal. There is a scheme fix, there's a personnel fix. I don't know what it is, but this has to change. The good news is we see defenses in this era, limited training camp, limited practice, they can get better as the season progresses. I know hope is not a strategy, but they have to figure this out soon.
Justin Tinsley.
Yeah, this isn't somebody sitting at the bar or sitting on their couch saying this. This is a dog. This is one of their best defensive players confirming this. So I absolutely agree. So if you're a Ravens fan, this is your biggest concern. Lamar and that offense have carried the defense for most of the season, which still sounds weird to say about a Baltimore Ravens team. So you got to wonder, when will they repay the favor? And I looked it up. Over the last 10 years, the worst defensive Super Bowl winner in terms of yards per game was New England in 2018, and they were 21st in the league. This Baltimore team is 27th. So can they still win the Super Bowl?
From Justin Tinsley.
Sure.
I love that.
But you don't want to put that type of pressure on Lamar heading into the playoffs when we already understand the conversation
you can't
about
be in the
Lamar.
bottom third in the league in that metric. That's well done, Tinsley. You brought up Lamar magic, Mina Kimes in that run. I loved watching it. It reminded me of the Mahomes magic from a few weeks ago. I said, it's not magic. Defenders are afraid to approach anybody near the sideline with good reason, because that's where the flags come out. It's an impossible position for defense to be in. We've been Horn. We'll move on to the biggest story of the weekend in the NFL, the return of Christian McCaffrey. Season debut for the 49ers. Niners play in Tampa. So the trade deadline just passed. This is like the biggest blockbuster acquisition, but is McCaffrey after the 2 Achilles injuries? That's the question. And do the Niners have wiggle room if the answer to that question is anything below all-pro level? Around the Horn, Mina Kimes.
Well, first I'll start by talking about just what a massive, massive addition this is for San Francisco. I think one stat that captures how much Christian McCaffrey's absence has impacted this team. So last year, with McCaffrey fully healthy, they ranked first in the NFL, unsurprisingly, in yards after the catch per reception. This year, without him, they have ranked 24th. And that's not just Christian McCaffrey with the ball in his hands. His gravity on the field, because he commands so much attention from defenses, created so much space for other players that just hasn't been there. So huge for the Niners. I do think, however, even if he's not 100% right away, they have some wiggle room because this division right now is really anyone's game. So even if they drop a couple of games, even if he's not quite himself, they still have some room to make up for it because of the other teams in the NFC
Kevin
West.
Clark, around the horn of you.
Wins are not a quarterback stat, but they are a Christian McCaffrey stat. Since he joined the Niners are 22-5 with him in the lineup, 4-5 without him. And the biggest thing, Mina talked about it, but his ability to line up anywhere in the slot. He was the second most targeted running back when they split out wide. Jordan Mason's only been targeted once in the slot. The red zone efficiency, being able to pass out of the backfield or align somewhere else, that changed their lives in the red zone. Everything changes again this weekend for the Niners. We finally get to see some semblance, even though they have injuries still, some semblance of what they're supposed to do.
Everything changes, Clark says. Tinsley, that how you see it?
Yeah, I think so, because the entire NFC West is like, oh, damn, this guy's back. But it's even bigger for the emotional standpoint of the 49ers. He's going to give some type of calm and consistency to an offense that has looked kind of erratic at times. And he's coming back against a Bucs team that's on a 3-game losing streak, and they're giving up 34 points a game. So this is a good time to bring him back. But for as big as this is, I still can't put San Francisco ahead of a team like Detroit, who I feel is the best team in the conference.
Courtney Cronin, around the horn of you.
Yeah, to Kevin's point, the red zone's efficiency and the scoring is down 20% from when they had Christian McCaffrey last season, so that is the immediate boost that you expect. Once he's up to full speed, they'll benefit from the most. They've been able to survive, though, guys, without him for the most part. 6 in points scored, second in yards. It's a good thing, though, in the timing. Jordan Mason went from a full participant to a limited participant in practice on Thursday, and we probably expect more of a pitch count from Christian McCaffrey, but once he gets up to speed to be able to overcome some of those other injuries, pretty good to have the
That was my
reigning
next
offensive
question.
player of the year.
Nina, have we
back
heard
in the
anything
mix.
as far as pitch count or percentage of plays he's going to play?
I wouldn't be surprised if they split carries and use him a lot as a receiver in this one.
Make that the last word. Look at this, blackjack. The dealer is in trouble here. All those numbers and scores. Fire sale next. Star units. Washington offense with Jaden Daniels. Pittsburgh defense and TJ Watt. Don't need to say any more, Mina Kimes. Would you rather have going into this game? Steelers D or Commanders O?
I absolutely love this matchup. Steelers pass rush obviously is incredibly deep and talented, and they're also good at stopping a lot of the things that Washington does well, Tony. For example, Washington runs a ton of no-huddle offense with Jaden Daniels. The Steelers are first in the NFL versus no-huddle offense. Washington loves to give the ball to Daniels and carries, scrambles, and design runs. The Steelers are first in the NFL in EPA per play versus quarterbacks when they have the football. However, the reason why I am leaning Washington is this. Steelers' run defense has shown some cracks lately. They struggled against the Giants and Tyrone Tracy, and Washington has a vastly superior rushing attack.
So sounded like you were leaning Pittsburgh for a long way there.
I know.
Brought it back to Washington. Courtney Cronin, around the horn of you.
I'm leaning Washington as two, and I'll pick up where Mina left off there. The offense for the Commanders on the ground, over 160 yards a game. I know Brian Robinson, there might be some question marks about his hamstring, but Jaden Daniels is such a huge part of what they do from a rushing perspective. I think it's going to be a big test for the Steelers, and they've protected the ball so well. The last 4 games, no turnovers, third down conversions. They're 4th in the NFL, 11 of 11 on 4th down. This offense is clicking on all cylinders and might have the second best player in the NFL right now behind Lamar Jackson.
Justin Tinsley, around the horn of you.
Yeah, I really love this question, but I'm going to go slightly with that Pittsburgh defense. This is going to be the best defense that Washington has seen all year, and they have game records on every level. They got TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Joey Porter Jr., Minkah Fitzpatrick. And there's also this too, a Pittsburgh-led defense led by Mike Tomlin. They're 13-4 after a bye week. They're 25-6 against rookie quarterbacks.
Oof.
against Mike in Mike Tomlin's career. So you got Kingsbury's offense, Tomlin's-led defense. This is the type of matchup you live for in November football.
Kinsley, did you sleep over at the Elias Sports Bureau? Their stats today are outstanding.
Hey, call me Stat Boy the Third, baby.
Got it. Kevin Clark, around the horn to you.
It's been 4 years since Nick Saban, our illustrious colleague, said that for the first time in football history, good offense beats good defense. And Nick Saban has never lied a day in his life. That's what's happening here. The Commanders are winning this game for a couple reasons. Number one, they have turned the ball over less than any team since they started tracking turnovers in 1933. I ask you, what the heck statisticians were doing in 1932 if you weren't tracking turnovers? By the way, we're going to put them on the hot seat. Having said that, Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback against pressure in the entire league this year. So if anybody can neutralize that front seven, it's Jaden Daniels. This is a special team. Jaden Daniels is one of the best players in the NFL as a rookie.
To say that about a rookie
very rarely. I like
is an amazing thing, right? Turnover-prone rookies, that's almost, they go hand in hand. Not the case here. Is it an aberration, though, that they've gone so long without a turnover, and now they're meeting a flesh-eating defense? We'll see. Wow. Buy or sell to Alabama, LSU Saturday. Not a playoff game, not a play-in game, maybe a play-out game. Loser would have 3 losses. Jalen Milroe versus pressure and versus slow starts, which has been a problem for Alabama. LSU off a loss and bye week, so that's happening. Don't need to say any more. But I will, because a live tiger is on the sidelines, people. This went all the way up to and from the governor of Louisiana. Haven't seen this in 9 years. Been phased out for reasons that include it's a live tiger on the field. It's not even the official LSU mascot, Mike, by the way. It's Omar Bradley, another tiger. You assume there's a cage, but maybe assumptions are off because it's a live tiger. Courtney, buy or sell this being an elimination game?
This is the most Cajun thing I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Your state says no, so you go to Florida, and Florida Boy Tiger comes to your stadium. This is absurd, Tony, either way. But let's talk about the game. Alabama, in its 2 losses to Vanderbilt and to Tennessee, seems to mess around, and then they find out what happens. Both of those losses came on the road. They were down 23-7 to Vanderbilt, 14-10 to Tennessee. If they don't get out to a fast start, there's going to be no talk of this live tiger coming down and doing whatever to celebrate. I think, though, that this might not be as much of an elimination game. I think we see one team get in with the three losses. That one team might be Alabama.
Justin Tinsley, around the one of you.
No, I love games like this because of the paranoia and anxiety that come with it. This is definitely a playoff, play-in, play-out game for Alabama. Think of DeBoer. This is the first time Alabama enters November with multiple losses since 2007. 3 losses for an Alabama team? Alabama potentially not in the first 12-team college playoff? No, Alabama's going to win this game because they have to win this game.
Wouldn't you say the same is true for LSU? Kevin Clark, around the horn to you.
If this is not an elimination game, then the committee is going to ruin, frankly, what's special about college football, which is the wins and losses matter more than any other sport. So I don't want to get on my soapbox about that, but this should be an elimination game. Having said that, LSU wins this game. A couple of reasons. Number one, they're very, very good at getting to the quarterback. Top 10 in sacks, top 5 in pressure rate in the country, and Jalen Milroe is very bad with pressure in his face, and usually bad. I think 114th in the country with guys in his face, so that's important there. LSU is vulnerable to chunk plays. Well, guess what? The last 3 games, Ryan Williams, the best freshman receiver we've seen in a long, long time, has not caught a deep pass. That's important to me. LSU wins this one.
Mina Kimes, around the horn to you.
Well, I agree with Kevin that this is an elimination game. The All-State playoff predictor has Alabama dropping to 20% if they lose in terms of making the playoffs, LSU to 8%. I disagree with the outcome, though. I've got Alabama. Yes, this Alabama passing attack is inconsistent. But you know what isn't? Their ground game. And this LSU defense has given up the most yards per carry to rushing quarterbacks in the conference. Their only chance of stopping Jalen Milroe on the ground is if they let Omar Bradley, that's his name, right?
Omar Bradley, yes, the general Omar Bradley.
Yeah, Tony.
Hey, I see what you mean.
Oh, there we go.
Well, I'm running away.
Kimes, Clark, showdown, next. Mina Kimes, Kevin Clark, good luck in showdown. Lions-Texans Sunday. This is another great game this week. It's the Sunday night game. Question is Houston. They're coming off a loss to the Jets, Mina. What would it take for the Texans to beat the Lions, and do you see it happening?
I don't see it happening because it would take the offensive line looking completely different from how they've looked this entire season. The interior of the line in particular has given up more sacks than any interior in football. They go up against a very good interior pass rush in Detroit.
Kevin Clark?
Mina stole my take, so I'll just be louder about it. Yes, the Houston Texans need C.J. Stroud to be upright. That's all the entire thing is. He hasn't regressed. It's that the receivers are hurt. He's getting pressured 40% of the time. That is ridiculous. Keep him upright. That Lions defensive line is not very good right now. That's the key.
I think I liked it better the quieter I heard it. Mina Kimes, boy. Showdown 2, NBA undefeated Cavaliers hosting the 7-1 Golden State Dubs tonight. And then they play a back-to-back, so tomorrow versus the Nets. Kevin Clark, odds they make it through the weekend undefeated.
50.1%. Here's the problem,
that's almost
guys.
a push, my
the
friend.
Golden State Warriors have the second best defense in the NBA behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder, and no one has started 9-0 with 110 points scored in every game since the 1961 Philadelphia Warriors. That's really hard to do.
Mina Kimes?
Well, I'm going to have to prices right him 50%. No, actually, I think it's less than that, 40%, I'll say, because I think the Warriors get them. Steph is playing out of his mind. I don't think they have an answer for him on defense.
Mina Kimes, your winner today, 30 seconds.
Okay, so people might know the reason I work at ESPN is I wrote a personal essay over 10 years ago about my love for football and how it comes from my relationship with my dad. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday to Pete Kimes. As a gift, I got you a bye week from watching the Seahawks, so you will not age as you have watching them every weekend.
Pete
I love you
Kimes.
so much.
Ah, we love Pete Kimes.
Shout out to Pete.
71.5 hour break. See you Monday.